Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive in to the heart of darkness.
Always up for a journey into the, well, heart of darkness. Though I think it's safe to say this novella's journey is less about the destination and more about what we find along the way.
Definitely more psychological than a typical adventure tale. So we start with our narrator, Marlow, right? Not even in Africa yet, but on a ship on the Thames.
Precisely. Conrad starts us in the heart of the British Empire, the supposed beacon of civilization. But by framing the story this way, he's already setting up a contrast, forcing us to question what civilized even means when faced with the darkness Marlowe's about to recount.
Okay, so setting is a challenge right off the bat. And Marlow, what's he like? I mean, what kind of guy signs up for a trip like this?
Well, he's a sailor, obviously, drawn to exploration. Conrad tells us he was the kind of kid fascinated by the blank spaces on maps, always wanting to fill them in. So that desire for the unknown that leads him to this job with the Belgian trading company operating in the Congo.
So adventure's a big part of it, but are we talking pure thrill-seeking here?
There's more to it than that, I think. Marlowe seems to be searching for something deeper. He's almost obsessed with this figure of Kurtz, an ivory trader shrouded in mystery. He's spoken of in whispers, almost mythical.
Kurtz. So there's this pull, this draw towards this almost legendary figure. And Marlow's journey to find him becomes this journey into the unknown, both externally in the Congo, but also, it sounds like, internally.
You got it. But even before Africa, Conrad gives us these glimpses, these little unsettling encounters. Like Marlowe sees this abandoned ship, a chain gang of exhausted natives, even this bizarrely efficient accountant in the middle of chaos.
The accountant.
Yeah.
Seems out of place.
Exactly. It's supposed to be jarring. This perfect European order imposed on this brutal reality speaks volumes about the colonial mindset, trying to maintain this veneer of civilization over something far more unsettling.
Right, so we've got Marlow, driven by this complex mix of adventure and this search for Kurtz, and we've got these early hints that things aren't what they seem. Now, he starts his journey up the Congo River.
Yeah, picture this. Marlowe on a steamboat, slowly going up this immense river, powerful and different to human suffering, and on either side, this dense, suffocating jungle. The journey itself becomes this descent into a wilderness, not just physically, but psychologically, even morally.
Sounds like the Congo itself is almost a character in the story.
You could say that. And as Marlowe goes deeper, he starts seeing the realities of this colonial enterprise firsthand. Trading posts that are just, well, inefficient. Company agents who are casually cool. And the treatment of the natives, it's horrific.
So it's a crash course in the dark side of colonialism. What does this do to Marlow? How's he processing all this?
It weighs on him, for sure. The oppressive atmosphere, the constant danger, the stifling heat, it starts to get to him. He's questioning his own sanity, his place in all of this. And all the while, those stories about Kurtz, they keep circulating, getting more and more unsettling.
So it's not just the physical environment. It's like the moral and psychological landscape is also getting darker.
Absolutely. And then you have that attack on the steamer, comes out of nowhere. Thick fog you can barely see, and suddenly arrows are raining down from the jungle.
I can only imagine how terrifying that must have been.
Oh, it's chaos. Violent.
Yeah.
The helmsman, he's African, he's killed. Marlowe barely avoids getting hit himself. Only thing that saves them, really, is the ship's steam whistle that scares the attackers off.
A close call. But it raises all these questions. Who was behind it? What was their motive?
Exactly. The attack, it just throws everything into question, right? It just adds to this feeling of unease, like the wilderness is closing in, literally and figuratively, and this sense of no control.
Right, so the journey's getting even more dangerous. The mystery deepens. Is this when they finally reach Kurtz's inner station?
They do. And it's not what they were expecting. The station's in decay, everything feels neglected, but Kurtz isn't dead like they feared. Instead, they find this eccentric Russian trader. Guy practically worships Kurtz.
A Russian trader.
Yeah.
In the middle of the Congo? That's a bit of a twist.
It is, and it just adds to the surreal feeling of it all. This Russian, he's a strange one, dressed in these colorful clothes, just chattering constantly about Kurtz, how brilliant he is, how he's like a god to the natives.
Okay, so Kurtz is alive, but it sounds like he's gone a bit off the rails.
Let's just say he's not exactly the agent of progress Marlowe was expecting. And that becomes pretty clear when they see, heads on stakes surrounding the station.
Heads on stakes. Yeah, that's definitely taking a dark turn. What's the meaning there?
It's a brutal symbol of what's been happening under Kurtz's, reign. The Russian, he tells these stories about Kurtz leading raids for ivory, his descent into madness, how he's both worshipped and feared by the natives.
So he's embraced the darkness. He's become the very thing Marlowe has been witnessing all along.
That's one interpretation. But Kurtz is complex, we learn that. He's intelligent, charismatic. He wrote this whole pamphlet about civilizing the savages, very eloquent. But the power, the isolation, it's twisted him, corrupted him.
Disturbing stuff. So what happens when Marlowe finally comes face to face with Kurtz?
Kurtz is brought out on a stretcher, incredibly ill, weak. But even in that state, he's got this chilling presence. And just then, a whole group of native warriors, they appear from the forest, surround them. Kurtz just whispers, and they retreat. It's a disturbing display of his power over them.
He's gone native, as they say.
Yeah, you could say that. And then there's this beautiful native woman, Kurtz's mistress, stands on the shore as they leave. The Russian implies she's got her own power, devoted to Kurtz, but potentially dangerous too. Adds to the unsettling atmosphere, you know?
So many layers, hidden relationships. What happens on the journey back down the river?
Kurtz is fading fast. He gives Marlowe some documents, including that pamphlet about civilizing the savages. It's full of eloquent arguments, but at the end, there's this handwritten note. Exterminate all the brutes.
Chilling. A complete contradiction to the supposed enlightenment of the pamphlet. Shows how far Kurtz has fallen.
Exactly. And then the steamer breaks down. Kurtz dies, uttering his famous last words. The horror! The horror!
Powerful, haunting words. What do you think he meant?
Ah, that's the question, isn't it? What is the horror? Kurtz's own actions, the things he's witnessed and done? Or is it something bigger? The horror of colonialism itself, the darkness it exposes in humanity.
A lot to think about. So Marlowe, he makes it back to Europe. What happens to him then? How does he deal with all of this?
He's changed, haunted by what he's seen, struggling to make sense of it all, especially Kurtz's last words. And then he visits Kurtz's intended, his fiancée, still mourning him, completely unaware of the truth about what he did in the Congo.
That's got to be tough. Knowing the truth and seeing her like that. Does he tell her?
That's where things get really interesting.
So Marlowe, back in Europe, but still carrying all that weight from the journey. And he's got to decide what to tell Kurtz's intended.
It's powerful, right? Because it makes us think, can innocence even exist after seeing such darkness? Or is not knowing, is that just another kind of complicity?
Yeah, tough question. Especially because Kurtz's intended, she has this totally idealized picture of him.
Exactly. She talks about Kurtz like he was this incredible man, remarkable, a genius, no clue about the horror he unleashed in the Congo.
That dramatic irony, it's almost too much. We know, but she's holding on to this beautiful lie. So what's it like when they meet?
The tension, you can feel it. Marlowe sees her pale face in mourning. She wants any information, any detail to bring her closer to the man she thought she knew.
It's kind of heartbreaking, but that makes his choice even harder. Does he tell her? Does he shatter that image?
It's the key moment. She asks specifically about Kurtz's last words. The horror. The horror, she wants to believe it was about her, some noble sentiment.
So what does Marlowe do? Does he finally tell her the truth about Kurtz?
No. He lies. He tells her Kurtz's last word was her name.
Wow. He erases the darkness completely.
It's morally ambiguous, for sure. Open to interpretation. Is it mercy protecting her from a painful truth? Or is it denying reality, keeping that myth of Kurtz alive?
It's like he's choosing between two kinds of darkness. The truth or the lie.
Exactly. And that ambiguity, that's what makes the ending so powerful. No easy answers. Just forces us to think about truth, morality, the legacy of colonialism, all of it.
It's been a fascinating deep dive. It's amazing, really, how this novella, over 100 years old, it still speaks to us today.
That's what great literature does, right? It gets at these universal things, human nature, the pull of power, the dark side we all have.
As we come to the end of our journey into Heart of Darkness, it's clear that the exploration doesn't stop here. That choice Marlowe makes, it leaves us with so many questions about truth, about what we choose to see or not see. And I think it challenges us, all of us, to really think about the choices we make when faced with darkness. The darkness in the world and, yeah, maybe even the darkness within ourselves.